Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today I am going over, I should say, answering a common question that I get in the comment section and the chat during the live streams, and that question is, Sealord, what ship should I get out of the armory for coal, for steel, for research bureau points? What resource ship should I pick up? It's a very good question, as most of the excellent resource ships are usually, tier 9, tier 10 ships. Ships that do take quite some time in order to, accumulate all those resources. And obviously a tier 9, especially tier 9 premium ship, those are some of the best ships for farming credits and XP in the game. So naturally you would want to make an informed decision when picking up one of those ships. So that's what we're answering in today's top 5 video, or this week's top 5 video. These are my top 5 resource ships. I would highly encourage you to pick up any of the 5 ships on this list for, of course, whatever you are wanting to accomplish with those ships, and I'll be talking about what these ships are good for when we get to them. But any of these 5 ships are solid choices. It's also very hard to narrow this list down to 5, as there are a number of quite excellent resource ships. Not even talking about the the tier 9 and the tier 10s. There's some very good tier 8s and tier 7s in there as well. But these are the the big ticket items that you'd want to save up for, in my humble opinion. And again, they are very much worth it. So let's go ahead and get started. Right before we do, though, if you do find yourself enjoying this video, if you find it informational, helpful, and or entertaining, please make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff that helps out with the YouTube algorithm overlords. Now, let's just get started with number 5, which is the tier 9 coal Japanese cruiser, the Azuma. The Azuma is a very simple ship in terms of what it is and how you play it. It's a giant Japanese cruiser that spams HE. It's got, great HE alpha on its 310mm guns. It's got a great fire chance on those HE shells as well. And it can simply be played as a mid to longer range HE farmer, and she will do that exceptionally well. She's not a very impactful ship in terms of how she'll impact the individual match, unless you use it to murder destroyers, which she's a very, very good ship for doing that. But you'll typically see most Azuma players, again, mid to long range, farming down enemy ships. That's as simple as does with the Azuma. Now, she's an excellent premium because while she's doing all this, she is also equipped with a tier 9 premium ship economy, which, if you don't know, the little economic bonus you see in port is only one of the economic bonuses that premium ships get, with the exception of tier 10s. There's also a baked-in premium economy on these premium ships, and the tier 9 one is simply the best. So you have a ship here that's an excellent damage farmer, which will of course result in more credits being printed when you play the ship. Now, like I said with destroyers, the Azuma is very good at absolutely blapping destroyers with her high HE alpha, and you're going to be breaking pretty much every module on this ship if you get all your shells to land on a destroyer with the Azuma's HE. So naturally, you're going to be blapping them for most of their HP, you're going to be wrecking their modules, which will make them easier to, of course, murder, and will, of course, net you quite a bit of credits. Because one of the ways that the economy rewards you in-game is by the total damage you do versus the ship's overall HP. And when you have a ship like Azuma that can easily, absolutely obliterate most of the destroyers it can run across with a single salvo, you can wipe out easily 70% of a destroyer's HP with the Azuma. That would be the same as if you did that to a grosser curve first. So the game sees you remove 70% of that ship's HP, you get that amount of rewards. Be it, you do that to a destroyer, you move 7,000 of its 10,000 HP, or you do that to a GK and you remove 70,000 of its 100,000 HP. Now, you do get a reward for the total amount of damage you do, which is again why the Azuma is a good ship for that, because she's a great damage farmer. But considering you can do that to most destroyers with one simple click, that is excellent right there. So it's a very simple ship, very simple way to play. Just know that it is incredibly fragile. You don't want to be sitting there and tanking too much damage in the Azuma because, well, you can't because of how crappy her armor is. But it's a very simple ship. If you just simply want one of the best credit farming ships in the game, look no further than the Azuma. Now, moving on down to number 4, we have the Tier 9 Premium American Battleship, The Kearsarge. That's right, the Kearsarge. The Kearsarge is, anytime you talk about best premium ships of the game, the Kearsarge is probably going to show up because she is one of the best tier 9 premiums in the game, hands down. Yes, it's a hybrid ship. Yes, I know hybrid bad, but like, look, it's a good ship regardless, right? I'd be lying to you if I told you otherwise. And really, it's not even the planes that make the Kearsarge great. It's the fact that you have 12 16-inch guns, 12 American 16-inch guns at tier 9. That's a ridiculous amount of firepower to have. Now, this is also another coal ship, so another free ship you can get by just collecting your coal, by doing your 3 daily coal containers, and just checking out the combat missions, playing through the dockyard if it's active, getting all that coal, and the event pass and all that jazz. You'll find yourself with enough coal to get a ship like the Kearsarge or the Azuma in a couple of months by just playing, for a couple hours every day. Anyway, Kearsarge. So yes, you do have 12 of the American 16-inch guns here with the Kearsarge. They are the North Carolina's 45 caliber guns and not the Iowa's 50 caliber guns. So the Kearsarge isn't really meant to be played from long range, which is really what you see a lot of Kearsarge players doing. That's not how you're supposed to play the ship. Because of the shorter barrels that you get with the Kearsarge versus the Iowa, the shell velocity is not that great, leaving the barrels of the guns. They're basically rolling out of there at a very slow 702 meters a second, and they just get slower as they go on because the American shells have terrible air drag coefficients. So really, the Kearsarge is best played from medium range. You might be thinking Sealord, but there's like a carrier strapped to the deck. Ignore that. Ignore the little carrier that's strapped to the top of the Kearsarge. This is a battleship first and foremost. The planes are just like a nice little bit of extra damage. We'll talk about them here in a second. But the Kearsarge, believe it or not, with the exception of the hangar, is actually really well armored for what it is, for being a tier 9 battleship. So you can get in close. And if the enemy ships are dumb enough to shoot at your belt armor, you're going to wind up bouncing most of those shells when you're properly angled. And it's a really stout battleship for medium range. Again, the tumor on your back is a giant weakness. It can be farmed, but if you can bait players into shooting your belt by making them think they've got enough angle on you to get through to your citadel, and then they don't, and now you can reply with 12 American 16-inch shells, that's quite a bit of a response. So it's a really tough ship for that, again with the exception of the hangar deck. So yeah, really play the ship from medium range, and it is fantastic. It's like a tier 9 Montana. Montana's best played from medium range too, right? So if you play it like a Montana from medium range, you will find yourself stacking up the credits in no time with this ship. Now, of course, because you do have 12 16-inch guns at tier 9, you are slapped with a 36-second reload, so does have a longer reload, but that's where the planes kind of come in usefulness here with the Kearsarge. So while yes, you do have a longer reload, but like I said, 12 16-inch guns at tier 9, you can make a lot of ships disappear with the snap of your fingers there. If it's a situation where, like with the slow velocity of the shells and the terrible air drag coefficient, where you're not really landing shots at range, that's where the planes come in and do their thing. So you get essentially a flight of midway rocket planes here, and they are fantastic for doing consistent HE damage with those HE rockets and starting fires on enemy ships. If you find yourself lining up perfectly on like a battle cruiser or anything with a nice bit of chunky armor that those rockets can get through, which is about 40 millimeters of armor, you will absolutely be clearing them for like 10k of their HP and starting a fire on top of them as well. So you've just got 10k alpha damage there. You got a couple fires on them too, so you've easily got like 15-20k damage from that ship, depending upon if their damage con is up or not. So it's a great tool to have to give you that bit of consistent income throughout the match, because there are plenty of points where your side rolls over their opponents, and now you're kind of just stuck there trying to chase down the rest of the enemy team, but you're out of gun range, you're out of effective gun range, right? You're not really going to be draining threes with the Kearsarge at its maximum range because, again, of the terrible shell ballistics, but your planes are a nice source of consistent damage. So that's what makes the Kearsarge so nice. It's one of the easiest ships to very easily get like 120k damage every game with the Planes coming in clutch for that. So again, it's the tier 9. It's got the tier 9 premium economy, just like the Azuma. So you're doing an easy 100, 120k every match. That's a nice, consistent amount of change coming in when you're playing the Kearsarge. Plus, there's a gajillion American ships in the game, right? So she's a very good commander trainer as well on top of that. Alright, going down to number 3, we have the tier 10 Italian cruiser, the Napoli. Yet again, another coal ship. Like I said, there's so many good coal ships in this game, but this is the last one on this list. But anyway, the Napoli, man, there is hardly a season of clan battles where the Napoli isn't limited in some way, shape, or form, for very good reason. It's an amazing Italian cruiser. So if you, for some reason, don't know what the Napoli is, it is an Italian heavy cruiser that has SAP secondaries, an 11-kilometer range on those SAP secondaries, and she has some of the most accurate secondary guns in the game instantly. And you don't have to worry about spooling up the accuracy like you do with other battleships and such, because they're naturally just instantly accurate off the bat, which is, of course, fantastic for dealing with enemy ships, because you don't have to keep your secondaries on them for almost a minute to get your maximum accuracy. They just start lasering down those enemy ships, especially destroyers. Oh man, like I said with the Azuma too, you know, anything that can murder destroyers fast, which the Napoli secondaries most definitely can, nice source of income right there. So on top of having SAP secondaries, the Napoli of course has the Italian exhaust smoke generator. So now you can have your secondaries running, pop your exhaust smoke generator, pop your catapult plane, keep the enemy spotted, and just farm literally free damage at that point on the enemy ships. Bar any, hydros or any radars popping up randomly and ruining your little farming session there, right? But she is an excellent ship for secondary damage income right there. On top of that, her main battery guns are quite efficient. They are quite painful. The Italian AP is very good, and if you find some poor cruisers selling broadside to you from close range, you can easily blap them with your main battery guns, and that's going to, of course, net you quite a bit of economic income there as well. So on top of all that, her armor is actually really good, which is one of the reasons why she's so popular in clan battles. This is a Italian cruiser, heavy cruiser, with exhaust smoke, good armor, amazing SAP secondaries, and torpedoes on top of all that too, with the ability to just smoke up and go undetected whenever it wants. So the Napoli is an incredibly tanky ship. We've seen it, of course, do some pretty stupid things, right? If you've played clan battles, you've seen how tanky the Napoli is. You can easily tank, like a Vermont broadside when properly angled if you, can bait the enemy into shooting at your armor belt. And then it's going to laugh, and its exhaust smoke just sell up to you, shove a bunch of torpedoes down your throat, or farm you to death with your SAP secondary guns. So this is an amazing ship if you want to get into competitive. Ranked, tier 10 ranked, Napoli is absolutely one of the best ships for tier 10 ranked. Brawls, anything like that, Napoli is going to absolutely dominate. She's a fantastic cruiser. I was going to say Italian cruiser, but she's just a fantastic cruiser in general. And once again, she is another coal ship, a ship that you can get completely for free. Of course, all these ships are free ships because they are resource ships. But yes, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, you absolutely should be picking up a Napoli. If you're trying into clan battles, that is definitely a ship that you can, that most clans will look at and say, okay, he's got a Napoli, we could use him in XYZ, right? So it's a very good pickup for that, amongst, again, just being an excellent ship, especially if you have Sansonetti. You get a kill with your guns. Now you have the extended range with Sansonetti, so yes, absolutely a must-have in my humble opinion. All right, going on down to number 2. We have what is statistically the best battleship in game. The tier 10 French battleship, the Bourgogne. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, this statistically is the best battleship in game in terms of, average stats, right? Why? Because it's a still ship. Who has a lot of still? Players that play a lot of competitive. Why do they play a lot of competitive? Because they're good at the game. Well, hopefully they're good at the game, right? If they get enough still to get a still ship, they played a lot of competitive, so they have a better idea than your average Joe on how to play the game, hence why Bourgogne's stats are so high. On top of it just being an absolutely amazing ship. Bourgogne, what is a Bourgogne? Well, take an Alsace, which is the tier 9 French battleship, make the guns much more accurate, give it a reload booster, mess with the secondary guns a little bit. Well, actually, by mess, I mean change them out. And, well, now you have a Bourgogne. That's simply what it is, and, sure enough, when you take one of the better Tier 9 battleships, turbocharge it, and give it a reload booster, oh yeah, you can do a lot of things with the Bourgogne. So, the Bourgogne, you get 12 15-inch guns and 3 turrets. Yes, those are 4 guns per turret. Now, the French guns are pretty good. They have great penetration, so when you, the AP shells do at least, like when you find any heavily armored battleship in like your Richelieu or your Alsace, like German battleships, for example, they're always things you want to see because you're not going to get as many overpins as you normally do, against a more standard armored target. But with the Bourgogne, it doesn't really matter too much because you're landing most of your shells on target, unlike with the Alsace, which has some very lackluster dispersion, to say the least. So you're getting your 12, 15-inch guns on target much more often with the Bourgogne, and if something does goof up and sell broadside in front of you, you can pop your reload booster and get 3 quick salvos back to back to back. If you time it right, you get your first salvo, pop the reload booster, then you get those 2 follow-up salvos, so 3 back to back in quick succession. And there's not really too many targets that can stand up to that level of abuse from a Bourgogne. Now, let me saying, so we're Sealord. It's a tier 10 ship with 15-inch guns. Those are some very small guns at tier 10, and 12 may not be enough to make up for it. Well, they're 12 accurate 15-inch guns, which means that your HE can more than make up for those situations where, sure, your 15-inch AP can't overmatch the target, right? And with accurate guns, you're landing most of your shells. You're throwing 12 of them at the target. You're going to be setting plenty of fires in the Bourgogne, and if they do pop their damage con, guess what? You have reload boosters, so now they pop the damage con, pop your reload booster, get a couple of salvos on them quickly. Now they've got 2 or 3 fires on them, and, well, they're stuck with them until their damage con comes back off a cooldown, or they gotta let them burn for the full duration, which is, of course, a fantastic source of damage. It will naturally, of course, lead to many a target simply burning away to nothing under your Bourgogne's HE. On top of the guns, the ship is quite maneuverable, especially when she has her engine boost going. So anytime you need to get from point A to point B quite quickly, Bourgogne's great for that. If you see an opportunity to run down their flank and get your 15-inch AP absolutely, pumping to the broadside, you can pop the reload booster, take advantage of those gaps, get on their flank, and start reload boosting your 15-inch French AP into their broadsides. Great ship for that. Now, of course, she is a tier 9 up tier to tier 10, so she still has, tier 9 battleship HP. It's the Alsace hull at tier 10, right? So you got the 32mm armor everywhere. You got the lower HP for a tier 10 ship, but look, the guns are absolutely worth it in my humble opinion. Now, the Bourgogne is a steel ship, so you will have to play a bunch of ranked or buy your way through a dockyard or two in order to acquire the Bourgogne. But, if you put your foot down and you play enough ranked, or if you're in a clan, you can, definitely for sure get enough steel eventually to get your Bourgogne. It is absolutely one of the best steel ships in the game, one of the best ships in the game, hands down, and it is absolutely one you should definitely pick up. And that finally brings us down to our number 1 slot, which is the tier 10 American battleship, the Ohio. Ohio is, in my opinion, one of the best ships in the game, the best resource ship for sure, by far, in my opinion, in the game. Why? Ohio is great at pretty much whatever you need it to do. It's great in random battles, it's great in competitive, it's great in the goofy fun modes that Wargaming likes to introduce to the game every now and then. Whatever you really need in Ohio to do, it can do it. If you want to put a secondary build on it, it's got good secondaries, it's got pretty decent armor, it's got the fast cooldown time on the heal and on the damage con, on top of having the improved American battleship heal and the improved American damage con that will run for 20 seconds, even more when you build into it. It can do the brawling. You need to be a sniper, you can throw the American Plotting Room Mod 2 mod on there, And you know what? You got a really nice sniper with those 8 American 457mm guns raining down upon your enemy team, especially if you're someone that's used to the American battleship wonkiness with the terrible shell ballistics, right? It can very much do it. If you need like a hybrid in between mix, you know, build into the accuracy of the guns a little bit, build into secondaries a little bit more like what I do, it's great for that too, which means this is a fantastic ship for clan battles, a fantastic ship for ranked, a fantastic ship for brawls, a fantastic ship for asymmetrics, a fantastic ship for, again, whatever it is that you need the Ohio to do in the game, she can do it. And it is most definitely a ship that players who are putting clans together are looking for when you sign up to join a clan. You got one of these. It's not, I won't say, you know, an assured a ticket in, but it's definitely a plus, a big plus in your favor if you do get this ship. And I mean, like, it's a Montana, so if you have a Montana, you like the Montana, it's essentially a side grade to the Montana, a more aggressive Montana with 18-inch guns. You know, what more could you ask for here? So if you play the Montana a fair bit, you pretty much know how to play the Ohio. You just have 18-inch guns now, the 457s, that can overmatch 30mm of armor. And my God, this thing is fantastic at deleting, you know, those 30mm and below cruisers that, you know, like man, the amount of Des Moines and Salems I've deleted in clan battles with Ohio is shockingly high, right? So she's great for dealing with that. Of course, anything shows broadside to these 18-inch guns, they're going to have a terrible day. You get the American battleship Dispersion Ellipse 2, which is very consistent. So she's just a fantastic ship all the way around. She's a little bit slower than Montana, though, yeah, coming in at 28 knots for reasons, but definitely more than fast enough to, you know, keep up with today's meta and all that jazz. So she's a great ship. I would highly encourage you guys to pick her up. Now, she is a research bureau ship, so you're going to have to regrind lines or save up a ton of free XP, which isn't really too hard in today's World of Warships if you have enough economic bonuses laying around, but you can save up enough free XP to reset a line, what is it, like 5 times when you have the double buff going, the 2 times research bureau buff going when you reset your line. I think they reset it every 6 months, every 7 months, something like that. So if you're resetting lines for your Ohio when that bonus is going, you know, definitely you can for sure save enough free XP to do this for free. Or if you know, have a line that you really like, you want to reset it a bunch of times, and you're okay with grinding through it, well worth it in my opinion. Pro tip, just save up the free XP that you need in order to reset to the Harugama line, again, like the 5 times you need to do it when you have the 2 times Research Bureau point bonus going, and just get it like that. You know, it's essentially a free XP ship that you have to save up a ton of free XP for. That's how Research Bureau ships essentially work nowadays. So, but definitely worth it in my opinion. You have to grind up and save the free XP. You have to regrind lines, a line 5 times. Totally worth it in my opinion, and you will not regret it. Once again, like the Kearsarge, there's a gajillion American ships in the American Tech Tree and American Premium ships. You can use this as a commander trainer for. Great ship to put Halsey on. I mean, this is not a difficult ship to get Confederate in. So then you get Halsey's buff to the reload time on these 18-inch guns, and now you're really cooking with gas. So I cannot recommend the Ohio enough. So guys, those are my top 5 resource ships. You know what you guys think in the comments down below. What ships would you include on this list? What ships would you remove from this list? Let me know all that good stuff down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.